Okay, recording. So welcome to this Deerfield Valley Restaurant owner call this week. I wanted to start by sharing, I had dropped in the chat a link to a Champlain Valley SCORE event that looks really great that Keith and me, and I think Eric also had, and this looks like a really interesting event. So it's, that is next week, next Tuesday, June 9th at 10 a.m. You can click on that link and sign up, but that sounds like a pretty high level conversation around all kinds of stuff, sanitation and, real back end thing. So if it's possible for you, you can do that. And that is free. And I just wanted to just put a little plug in for these events. I wanted to thank the town of Wilmington and Dover has provided funding for us to be able to continue to offer this programming for everybody. So I just wanted to make that known. So they're helping us to put together calls for all our businesses in the area. So with that, I am going to turn it over to Keith, and he can tell us what's going on in his life as he is opening a restaurant, reopening. Go ahead, Keith.
Good morning, everyone. As Meg alluded, 3 days ago, I flew to Denver to help reopen our restaurant here. We've had this restaurant, it's Duo as well, if some of you made it to Brattleboro. It's the same concept. It's a farm-to-table, American farm-to-table restaurant here. We've had it for 14 years, and we've been doing curbside pickup, but now they've lifted the restrictions on dining room eating, and so we are moving into a 50% capacity dining room reopen. So I guess I want to just say, energetically, it was quite a transformation coming from, Dummerston, Vermont to Hartford Airport, Bradley Airport, and just being around that number of people for the first time. Everyone was in masks. Almost everyone was in masks and obeying that guidance. Everyone on the plane kept their masks on, and but then I was a bit alarmed when I got off the plane at DIA in Denver. I would say easily 10 or 15% of people were not wearing masks, even though there's signage everywhere to do so. And then moving into the city, and I've had the chance to eat out 4 times now, and there's certainly examples of places that are committed to doing it well, and places that are missing some things. And so that's kind of been my repeating thought to all of you is it's so important to do it well. And so going through the guidelines for outdoor dining, which is what Vermont has got now, and hopefully we continue to move into opening dining rooms soon. It's critical that the establishment sets up an environment that feels safe. And so in order to do that, there's some key parts. Vermont has already given us guidelines for how the staff needs to be, tables, etc. But if there's not a high level commitment to training your staff, and I mean daily reminders that sanitation, signage, masks, visual cleaning of communal spaces such as maybe a takeout counter, bathrooms, obviously tables. If those things aren't done 100% of the time, you're being scrutinized more than ever before. As if we're not used to that, right? But now more than ever, folks are sensitive. And Having a protocol document that you're sharing with your staff, I would say daily, reminding them of the importance of these procedures 100% of the time. Guests are going to feel sloppiness, and guests are going to feel the element of, I'm not sure if I'm safe. I'm not sure if this feels safe enough for me. So, before I went any further, I wanted to kind of turn it back to you guys and see how your weekend was, how your outdoor dining is going, and any experiences you want to share with the group along these lines of what you've implemented.
So we've had a good business of people coming in. What we have noticed is that it's not groups, it's individual families, but it's not like two families coming together, which we're allowed to have on the deck. We set up our back deck we can only do 4 tables of 10. So to keep the 10 feet apart. The side deck gets utilized a lot more with just like 2 to 4 people. And we do everything in takeout. We're trying to promote, doing it by the app, because right now we only have 1 or 2 people in the store doing everything. So the app is really working phenomenally. Touchless, whatever, you come in, you pick up your food, you go sit outside. But the thing that we are finding a challenge in is that if we do see somebody sitting outside, and per, the state of Vermont guidelines, we have to have a sheet with their name on it that they dined at our facility. So we get mixed emotions. We had a bunch of bikers come in last week, and half of them would give their name and half wouldn't give their name. And we had one mailman come in, and she asked her for the name and phone number. He said, no, I'll just eat in my truck. Another woman was like, oh, but then she understood after we explained it. So we did like a little sheet showing this is what the state of Vermont wants from us. Now I know that other places in town are doing like actual reservations. Like I saw that the Wilmington Pub was doing like actual reservations. Jezebel's like actual reservations. Us being the type of model that we are, it's not possible to do reservations because we're like a walk-in place. So what we did was we did implement the sheets, so we do have that. And plus all our credit card information, I still say, but it's amazing. People still pay with cash. And, we say, oh, do you have a credit card? And, they still, hand you, $20, whatever. So I think that it's going well. We had a decent weekend. People are still very generous with the tipping, which is amazing. Takeout is still brisk. People still want, food that's not made by them anymore. So I think that once we kind of, as the governor says, open the spigot a little bit more, things are not going to be as bad as we thought for this summer. It's not going to be as great, but it's not going to be as bad.
That's great, Isabel. I love that in a segue into this the continued conversation of we've got guidelines, but as long as we are creating a safe environment and controlling what we can control, we can continue to serve. And so Isabel's decision to, I'm assuming you allowed the bikers to eat and drink and go on their way. And the state is giving you that guideline for their safety. In case something happens, you're able to contact them. We're all accepting some level of risk here in being a public business and guests coming to our business, right? So it's for their safety. If they don't want to do it, my position is we're not police. We're not here to lay down the law. We're here to create a safe environment for our guests and our employees. And so if half the bikers didn't want to sign up, it's okay. Let's keep moving. Let's serve as long as they're doing it in a safe way, accepting cash, as long as you're washing your hands afterwards or your employees washing their hands up, it's still safe. So I would urge, everyone to take a deep breath here and not get so hung up on the rules in the sense of, am I still creating a safe environment? The answer is yes, then keep going. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Keith, a question for you. So in Denver, is it more relaxed there? Is it as stringent as Vermont? The tables have to be 6 feet or 10 feet apart?
Yeah, that's a good question. So they first came out with 8 feet, and that was quickly amended to 6 feet. But it's confusing because the tables are supposed to be 6 feet apart, but guests are supposed to be 6 feet apart. So that doesn't really make sense. And so we're doing it by the seats. But for example, we have a huge table in our back area that we don't have a place to store, and it's actually less than 6 feet from another table. So what we've done is we put plants and flowers on each end, and taken some chairs away from the end, so our guests are safe. But technically, we're breaking the rule because the table is not the right distance.
Yeah.
But again, we're creating a safe environment for our guests and employees, and so we kept the table and just made it seat less people.
So like I've gone out to eat in Connecticut and it's totally different here. You know, it's like 6 feet apart, but only 4 to a table. And let me tell you, every single restaurant last night down the post road was packed. It was, they had tables spilling out into the parking lots. It was great to see. No one was wearing masks while they were eating. The servers were, but nobody was wearing masks. I'm still like really on the cuff with the glove thing, because the gloves they found is like the worst thing that you could transmit the virus with. So I get a little wary.
It creates a false sense of safety.
I get a little wary with servers. You know, you don't know how often they change the gloves. You know, they're touching other people's, dishware. So that's the only thing that I have a concern with as far as when I go out to eat. So
I just had a question too, because I think if we have people that are coming through that have been in other places, I mean, even though there's a quarantine in place, I think we may still have travelers, passing through and dining, or people who are coming for the weekend. And if they're coming from places that have different sets of restrictions, I think communication is really important. And I would say, with the situation of the bikers, as long as I think you have contact, if they're in a group and you have contact from one person in the group and they all know each other, then you're like, okay, that's cool. You don't all have to give your number. But, I think that is something, I think communicating really clearly. Is anyone else on this call currently open? Tony, are you open? You can unmute yourself.
I'm open for takeout only. This is Tony. I don't have a takeout. And we're open for takeout only 5 days a week.
Okay.
Glass, and we're following the rules and constant washing. We've been open right through. Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm just wondering about people thinking about doing, setting up additional outside dining and stuff like that. I know there's been a lot of talk about setting up dining in parking areas and things like that. So, that's something. In Wilmington, we're a little constrained. Some people have space, some people don't. In Dover, I think there might be more space, but again, you have to take a part of your parking lot. I'm hoping we get more guidelines today too for kind of moving forward for things, like a food truck. That's great because it's takeaway, but then do you have to control if people are going to sit and eat it close by? It seems pretty pretty much of a gray area. So has anyone else seen, and Keith, are you seeing this in Denver, and Isabel, you're seeing this in Connecticut, anyone else who is out in other places seeing that setting up dining outdoors and how that's going? To more people seem to be using outdoor seating? I know, our weather is fickle here, so it's, it's hard, but I'm interested to see in other areas what people's comfort is with dining and moving to outdoor dining more.
It's amazing. Every single table. We tried to get reservations on Saturday night to the Oyster Bar off of on the water. Last night, which was what day of the week? Tables and tables. Tonight we have reservations at 8 p.m. with friends, and I don't think it's going to happen because we're supposed to be getting thunderstorms tonight. And that's the other thing. It's a pretty bad thunderstorm season. Everybody's screwed.
So I just stopped my video because my internet is not great.
Each town. who's mine. You know, people are itching to get out. I'm feeling that energy as well. The select board unanimously last night. So things are moving and being and there's creativity out there. Unfortunately, here in Denver, there was a conference that said we're going to streamline it. It didn't happen. We've had our application in for weeks. There's backlogs of inspections. It's not happening here. We actually had made the decision collectively as a management team yesterday to go ahead and put 4 tables out on our sidewalk without permits, without permission, without the license to do so. That, I guess the way I looked at it was those same 3 questions that I always ask. Is it good for the guest? Is it good for the employees? And is it good for the business? I say yes to all 3 of those. And whether I'm fined or not, I'm going to do it safely. I'm going to do it smart, but I'm going to do it because my business needs it. So I'm not advocating that people break the law, but it felt like the right decision for us. So I want to kind of circle back again to I think that there's some signage available. We talked about that last week. Meg, you've got some basic signage, but I would urge something that I cue in on right away when I've gone into the last few restaurants I've gone into is the directive I'm receiving from their signage, and when it's clear and professional looking, that just tells me I'm safe. It tells me that the operators are concerned enough to let people know what's going on, what the expectations are for sanitation and cleaning, what their staff is committed to, reminders for their staff, reminders for guests on how to be, where to be. There's, some really nice circular commercial grade stickers and so forth for social distancing. This is of course maybe a little more useful in the dining room where you're confined by the walls, etc. Than maybe than an outside area, but it could work outside as well, I suppose. But my point is having adequate and professional looking signage as to what to expect really felt really valuable. So I would urge you to consider that. Meg, did you have was there another question you had, Meg?
Well, no, I was going to say I do have the signage, specific to Wilmington. It says masks are by order of the select board, and those are available. There's a pile right inside the door at Bartleby's for anyone who doesn't have them, or just let me know and I can get them to you. So if you haven't opened yet and you don't have those signs. And then for Dover, I did give a bunch of signs. So Shannon Wheeler at the town office has those in Dover and was going to contact businesses to get those distributed. But again, if anyone in Dover needs a sign for their door, and it literally just has the guidelines, it says, stay home if you're sick, must wear a mask, or wear a mask. In Wilmington, it says you must by order of the select board. In Dover, it just says wear a mask. If you need one, ask. And we can help people get hold of masks that mask makers are making all over the community, so we can get you fabric masks if you feel like you need them. And then it just talks about some of the other guidelines, observe social distancing, and it says, please respect the requests of owners and staff. So we have those available for anyone who wants them. So just reach out to myself or to Eric and we'll make sure that you get them. I'm also gonna just do I'm gonna go find there's signage available through the Vermont Department of Health if you want other things, just symbols, sticker-sized things. So I just have to track down those links, and I'll see if I can drop them in the chat, we'll send them out with a recording of the call later. So those are really a useful resource if you want to print signage, but also just, large font printed on a piece of paper, clear, crisp, is good too, if that's all you want to do. But I think keep it simple, keep it clear, make it look nice. And again, like that thing is, I know you have different experiences shopping and dining, right? And the place you're going to go back to is the place where you feel like it's easy to follow their directions and everybody's doing it. And it's like that whole, feeling of safety. If everybody's doing it, then it feels good. We're herd animals. So,
yeah, I mean, we do everything we can to have our guests come back. And so now we've got another layer of things to manage. It's not just the service. It's not just the food and environment, but it's the environment that now that we're having to hyper manage in order to create a feeling that the guest walks away of that was good. That was a good feeling. And so that's exactly what we're managing here, Meg. Unless anyone wants to continue to talk about this stuff, I wanted to maybe see if anyone wants to go back to the PPP and what's going on there. I sent Meg a link to, it's a quick, easy click through signature, online signature to our senators and legislators to pass this revision specifically for restaurants. It's profound how much better it would be if this particular revision passes. It would allow, instead of 8 weeks, it's something like 20 something weeks. Is that right, Isabel?
It was 12 weeks.
Is it 12? Okay. Yeah, okay. So 12 weeks. And then instead of 75% for payroll, it goes down to 60%, which allows 40% for those other purposes. This would really, really help. And so I would urge everyone to, if they had a second, to get that link and click through and just send those signatures on to our legislators. But for us, we haven't touched the PPP. We got it; it's in the bank, but we have not touched it at all. But to be quite frank, we're basically at the end of our reserves. We're basically at a net zero right now. And without this, we're at the end of our 8 weeks. 8 weeks is for us is June 12th, and we haven't touched it. We haven't used it. But now we're at the end of our reserves, and so it's gonna convert into a loan for us unless we use it correctly. And so this is so important that this this measure gets passed.
Okay, hi, this is Royal and Ned Wilson. We own the Mountaineer Inn. And the reason we listen in on these calls is because while we're primarily lodging, we also have a restaurant license. So that's why we listen to hear ideas. But regarding the PPP, it's 24 weeks proposed, 60-40 percentage. Both our senators are online. I've been sending emails to them for a long time. I think the vote's supposed to be today, although I haven't had a chance to look at the Senate agenda for the day. But all it takes is one senator from any state to vote against this, and then it goes into a longer period of negotiation and so on. It also, just because the House passed theirs at 24 weeks and the 60-40, it doesn't mean that the Senate can come back and say 16 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever. So the idea from it doesn't mean that the Senate will pick up exactly what the House did, but I hope they do something. Our use by date is next Monday. So that's just so we've been paying a lot of attention to this.
Yeah.
But we have managed to use the funds, a lot of the funds, because we use the employees to come in and do spring cleaning and things like that. So, but that's where we are on that. But I just want to make sure that, there are not very many people on the call, but last I looked, there was still $1.8 billion left in the second round of PPP that's still out there to be had. I'm not saying we would reapply or apply again or anything. I'm just saying that there was still some out there on the table. So that's great for other small businesses.
Yeah, if you haven't applied, I've always said to anyone that I know is apply and get it. If you need it, you got it. If it works, use it. If it's clear that it doesn't work, and you give it back. There's no downside to getting it.
I also just wanted to jump in quickly and say that there's some CARES money that's being worked on in Vermont for this Vermont recovery project. And so that will give people in different businesses ways to access potentially grants and loans through various portals. So it's all up in the air right now because it's moving through our legislature, but they are working to get that as quickly as possible because, we have this money, we need to get it out to businesses. It has to be spent by the end of the year. So that I will just say, as soon as there's information on those, we will share it. And we have been getting, I don't know if you get Wilmington Works and Chamber emails, we have been sending out, Deb Boudreau sends out this really comprehensive update periodically. So if you go back to the email we sent out on Monday, Eric and I both linked to that, and it's a pretty voluminous read, but she's good about highlighting the new added parts in yellow. So you can look at that, and it has a lot of information about, it's comprehensive. It's not a light read, but it's very comprehensive. So if you need that, please let me know. I have it. It's also linked on the Wilmington Works website front page. It says Vermont Small Business Development Center updates. So you can just click on it and you'll get Deb's fine words. Anyway, Keith, you're back. iPhone access. It's hard. Technology.
I mean, I think that's really all I have for today. To summarize, as I've said all along, you've got to do it well. You've got to do it 100% of the time to create a sense of confidence for your employees and your guests. And, the last piece is control what you can control. As Isabel pointed out with her bikers, I witnessed a table from across the restaurant see another table that they knew, and they got up and went over and gave each other hugs. And I was like, you clearly haven't seen each other in a long time and you're hugging. They're accepting their own risks. I don't think that that's our job to police or mandate that they separate and sit down and all that type of thing. So take a deep breath, because everyone's tolerance and everyone's acceptability is different. But as long as they're operating in a safe way overall, then you've got to be able to roll with some things.
Sorry to interrupt. I have a question for both you and Isabel. Since you've been out and about, we've been hunkering down here at the Mountaineer for what, 8, 9, 10, 12 weeks.
Right.
We've definitely not been out to any dining. So when we do get the opportunity to open up again, my vision is that on our dining room tables, there's nothing. There's not a flour, there's no salt or pepper or anything. So what are you getting? Those little salts and peppers like you do at a fast food place? What kind of things are you
that's
doing?
that was a great question. So, we've had so many managers meetings on how to best manage all of those details, and each place is different. So I'm seeing individual throwaway type condiments. I'm also seeing little ramekins, for example. If you want ketchup, it comes with in a little ramekin, and then that gets brought to the dish room, etc. For pepper and salt, we are going to do that tableside. Our servers will have we're going to get like a pepper grinder, but do salts. So we'll do a salt grinder and a pepper grinder. Nothing on the tables. We're doing we're putting up a huge. We bought a gigantic chalkboard. We're going to put the menu up on a chalkboard. The only thing on the table is going to be a little plastic pop-up with a QR code. I'm seeing that used more and more now. So what you do, it's very, very easy to do. You set
Sorry,
up.
I got to interrupt. My husband is very technological backwards. He doesn't know what a QR code is.
A QR code is that funny square with black, kind of looks like a funny, it's like a barcode. It's a thing for a computer to read, and it sends you. There you go. Thanks, Isabel. Thanks for the quick visual. Here it comes.
There it is. And when you take a
then
photo,
you're saying, what do you do with it? I'm guessing it takes you to your online menu or something.
That's exactly right. So a guest can sit down. We're going to have just a little plastic pop-up that says view menu, view menu here. You put your phone onto it and it clicks you directly through without having to find our website and find the menu tab and tap all over the place. It just immediately sends you to the link that is our menu. And now our menu
can they order from there? Can they order?
No.
Okay.
Mine they can.
So yeah, there are some systems that allow that. Ours does not, but it allows people with a smartphone to view the menu at their table, and then our server will take your order. Yeah.
Yeah, what's killing me is every time we go to a restaurant, they have paper menus, and they take them and they crush them in front of you, and they, it just kills me.
Yeah, we just couldn't do that either, Isabel. I'm with you on that. But some people are doing it, and that's their best way, and that's okay too. But you got to do what you can and do what's best. Yeah.
I love that. I just want to jump in and say, I love that, low tech, you could do that chalkboard where you can carry it to the table too, like a small chalkboard, something like that, or a small whiteboard. I mean, it's low tech, but it is something the server can carry it and hold it and they can look. But I think this is a great time to work on getting things online, just getting your menu online. So and just getting that QR code so people can link. Everyone's got a phone in their pocket, so if anyone needs help with how to do that and talking about platforms, we're going to work on that. I think we'll have a webinar coming up in a couple of weeks on June. It'll be 2 phases on June 17th and 18th, but really talking about platforms and stuff like that, nitty gritty, get your stuff online, quick, easy, fast now. Because I think it's helpful, but also, again, if you have to use paper, you have to use paper. But also if you can do the chalkboard or anything that's reusable, be creative.
That's great. Great question. And Isabel, thanks for your help on the insight on your part.
Susan, are you opening? Oops. No audio. There you go.
There you go.
We're looking to open La Casita the second week of June, and then we're going to open the Anchor, I think, the third week in June. So we're waiting to see what the directive is from the state for the Anchor as far as indoor seating. For us, it makes sense to wait till we can have some indoor seating as well, because we really don't, as it is right now, we can't put many tables on the porches with the distancing that needs to be done. So, and the menu is more conducive to go at La Casita and sitting outside and eating on paper plates than it is from the Anchor. So I think we're going to start there and then work on the Anchor after that. We're working up a limited menu right now and try to get open by the third week. So we have a week's under our belt before 4th of July because they're coming. We've been, we were down in the Carolinas and they opened up everything rather quickly. And we also ate at a few different restaurants that took different approaches to it, but they did open indoor seating. And at some restaurants, the tables were a good distance apart. Another restaurant we went to, people were literally, the tables, they were back to back, 2 feet apart, 3 feet apart. So we did not eat there. We asked, we sit outside? And they're like, no, that's all full. They said you can sit upstairs, which we were alone up there, which is great. But I do say they are very careful. They've got hand sanitizer going in, hand sanitizing going out. They wipe down all the backs of the chairs as soon as everybody gets up. But as I said, some restaurants are more careful than others. But what I do see down there is in their retail, they're way more careful than we are in Vermont here. You go into the Walmart or the Home Depot here, there's no one wiping down the carts. You can't take a cart down there without everything being wiped down and it handed to you, knowing that it's wiped down and there's hand sanitizer going in, hand sanitizer going out. It seems to be much more lax. I think Vermont is focused on strict direction to the restaurants, but they haven't been focusing on the large retail chains, which I won't go back because of that reason. I did not feel safe at the Walmart or the Home Depot. You know, I haven't been out here anywhere yet, but that's what I'm seeing, the difference between the different states. So, you know, we have a lot of outdoor space here, so we're going to open up one way or the other, even if they don't allow us to have much indoor seating. But we're going to start over at La Casita. It just makes sense with the way the menu is put together. We got to do something soon, so we can't go much longer on our reserves from the winter, because we will run out of money. And we did not apply for the PPP because I couldn't see how to make it work. We did apply for the EIDL loan, which we're still in queue. This is, 8 weeks later, and we still have not received any funds. So when I call them every week, they're like, well, you're in queue, you haven't been denied. So we're just waiting on that. That might give us a little bit of help, and waiting to see what Vermont does. But it will be a much tighter ship. It'll be less employees, unfortunately. We won't be able to bring everybody back. We're going to have to phase in menu items slowly as business directs. So that's what we're doing over here. In the meantime, we're cleaning. Gardening next.
Thanks, Susan.
You're welcome.
But I'm kind of afraid of what the governor's going to say today. I'm afraid that his indoor seating is going to be so stringent that it's going to prevent a lot of people from reopening. I mean, if he's saying 25%, I mean, that is ridiculous. We're 90 seats. That's 22 and a half seats, indoors and outdoors in total for us. So I don't know. I'm kind of like apprehensive about what's going to happen with his mandates.
I have a question. So looking at the percentage they allow you to do, would that also apply to your outdoor seating, or just like, okay, let's say you have 80 seats inside, so 25%, you can do 20 inside, but you can still do your additional folks outside with the distancing of the tables? Or are they including that in your total occupancy? That's,
we don't know yet.
Yeah.
We'll have to see what the guidelines are, and anything, if it's really hard to parse, you bet all the people like me and Eric will be hammering to get more specific guidelines, because I think, generally there has been sort of directives of like a maximum number that you can do. So it's like 25% of your capacity or a maximum of X. So there's a cap to it. But Susan, we'll definitely follow that and parse it and let everybody know. There's no guidance yet. So maybe within, the governor did say this week that he sort of teased, or he said last week, he sort of teased about indoor dining being around June 15th, I think was the tease. So that's coming up, that's a couple weeks. So, we'll see. That's 2 weeks from Monday. So, let you know.
Yeah, I'm in a tough position here again of, I don't want to advocate for breaking rules. I really, really don't. But for example, we have a maximum seating occupancy of 64, and quite frankly, we've always sat more than that in our restaurant here in Denver for 14 years. Not much more, but just a little bit more. And the guidelines here are 50% of your posted occupancy or a maximum of 50, whichever one's smaller. So that means 32 for us. And the other guideline, of course, is tables and guests need to be 6 feet apart. Well, when we do the 6 feet apart, we can fit like 40. And so we're going with 40. because we need every seat we can. We need every guest to eat and pay for their meal, and let's get on with some commerce. So we're doing it safely. We're being smart. We're taking very seriously the guidelines and safety aspects of cleanliness, but we're going to seat 40 people instead of 32.
And the other thing is, us being like an internet cafe type style, we used to have people come in and park themselves and sit there for hours, taking up a 4-person table. And I just don't know how we're going to address that this summer, because people do want to get out of the house. They want a different environment to work in. I just don't know like what's going to happen once we do open inside, and how do we tell people, hey, there's a time limit, or we shut off the internet. I don't know. It's just like, it just doesn't seem like it's, our philosophy.
Right. Those are such tough questions, Isabel, that, normally we're so committed to hospitality. We've accepted those things in the past, but our hands are tied behind our backs. And so to advocate for yourself a little bit, I don't think is the wrong choice. Even though it doesn't feel naturally hospitable, you've got to advocate for the health of your business at the same time.
Meg, is there any chance of getting some picnic tables between us and the Incurable Romantic?
So, this is something that we're working to address now, is to figure out how we can have additional seating. So I think that the pullback from our select board was they were worried about it not being like monitored and able to follow the guidelines if it was just public picnic tables. So far the guidelines from the state for recreation areas said they actually had to remove the picnic tables. So that's why you can't go to the lake and have a picnic. They've roped off all the picnic tables, things like that. So that's a bit of a sticky thing. I think we're going to have to wait for more guidance, or if there were picnic tables and you were committed to monitoring and maintaining them as your seating, rather than having them just be a free-for-all, anybody can sit there, and they were somehow contained and monitored, I think that would be okay. That's the problem that we're having with we suggested, can we put seating around town? And the select board said, no, because it doesn't fit with how the guidelines are. But I will say, as soon as the guidelines change and that becomes possible, that's something we would love to do, provide seating for people either to take takeout or just add capacity to towns. So I think, we can talk on a case-by-case basis of how that can be maintained, or if we can add space by doing, taking parking spaces and making them into parklets and things like that. I think they just have to be able to be maintained by the business that's using them directly. Do you know what I mean? So that's what we're trying to work on getting in place. So,
well, I thought this might not work for Isabel because she does get primarily walk-in business, but I know there's a directive that you have to make reservations, which in one way, it gives you the opportunity to advise the people, we will take your reservation. You have an hour and a half at the table for a 2 or 2 hours for, a table of 6 or more, whatever. So as long as they know their expectations ahead of time and they know we're in a typical, a difficult bind, I think people might be okay with that, and that might help you control that. And maybe, Isabel, you can come up with some sort of a suggestion to them. Because of our present situation, you're limiting the access to the table to an hour or an hour and a half, since you don't have a long extended meal pattern. An hour is probably plenty. And maybe they would understand if you somehow can, put together a narrative that the staff can use with people. And if the people know ahead of time when they're entering, which the whole reservation thing to me doesn't quite make sense, because if you've got a table for 4 walk up and they want a table, what do you say? Okay, call me up in 5 minutes. We'll hold the table for you. You can come back in 5 minutes. I'm not sure. It's confusing having to make a reservation by phone. You can't just walk in.
I call a walk-in an immediate reservation.
Yeah.
There you go. We're coming.
Come on in.
We'll be there in 30 seconds. Yeah, so that's the only, the advantage of them calling and making a reservation. You have that opportunity to have a quick narrative with them as to what their experience is going to be like. And please understand that we are so limited on tables that we do need to turn the tables after an hour and a half. So there is another group that will be following you at that point. And some of them will be okay with it and some won't.
You know, Susan, maybe that's something you could do. Maybe like on the day, are you going to be offering lunch and dinner?
We're not sure on that yet because we really have to work around what's going to be profitable for us. And I'm not sure that lunch is going to work for us because it's a matter of staffing. We have to pay the staff. We can only afford to pay the staff for so many hours. Like I said, we're going to have to keep it really to the bone here and gradually work in additional menu items and staff and hours. So we're going to start slow and then see what happens by 4th of July.
So like if you were able to offer like internet
Definitely a limited.
seating, you know, internet seating, just offer like a limited menu
Right.
for internet seating, like during the morning and the
Right.
afternoon hours. I mean, that might be lucrative for you.
Right.
Yeah,
We might just put up our tiki bar on the end of the driveway and sell lobster rolls to passerbys. I don't know.
that's awesome.
Yeah, the weekend I know that we're going to get the smokers out and do pork
Good.
sandwiches and half chickens and that kind of thing on a
Awesome.
Sunday.
That's good.
I don't know. We're just shooting around all kinds of ideas. So, you know, and that's something that my fiance can do, and we don't have to pay anybody. So, you know, it's kind of like there's the direction we're looking at is how can we do this as labor efficiently as possible, and then we can grow back from there.
Yeah.
I don't want to throw good money away after bad. You know, we've already taken such a hit on the food product that we've lost. You know, our loss of income, which nothing is covered, you know, because the insurance, you shell out $25,000 a year in insurance between two businesses and they're not paying for anything.
Nope.
So it's brutal. So we have to play it kind of close to the chest and really take our time and do what makes sense.
Yeah.
Hey, Keith, can I just, not to bring your wife into this, but Stephanie brought up her proposal around using restaurant kitchens to help feed people yesterday at a meeting. Would it be appropriate to just shop that idea to some of the people that are here to see if there's interest in our community, if that idea does expand? Because it sounds like a pretty amazing program. Is that okay to just ask people how they feel about it if it comes out of Brattleboro and moves this way?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have all the details on that. But I know that she has had some success with kind of pairing these organizations that are in place to feed folks that need it. And who better to do that than restaurants?
Yeah, so the idea is that basically restaurants would be, hired to make a set number of, pre-packaged meals. So they've been doing lunches because that's a time that's easier for most restaurants where they're doing a set. So it's 150 lunches that you are paid to provide, and the restaurants are making the food and packaging it. And then the program is sort of, I guess, working on distribution, how to get that distributed. But if that's something that this pilot program in Brattleboro is hoping to expand throughout the state. And I just wondered what restaurants thought about that. Like, would that be, the idea is to help you by saying, here's an order for 150 lunches that we need at X time on Wednesday. Here's how much we're going to pay you for it. Go.
So you could sign up on your days off.
Yeah.
For instance, we're considering not opening 7 days a week initially at, maybe 5 days a week at each restaurant, alternating days. So that would free up the kitchen on a couple of days. So, if they're scheduling in different restaurants for different days, it is a possibility.
Okay, well, we'll see how that goes, because I thought it sounded like a good way to help people build capacity. So it's a little bit outside of your, menu items or whatever, but because you have the food suppliers, you have the staff, you have the kitchen, you have the wherewithal to do it, it just provides another, just an outlet to give you that boost of, doing an extra 150 lunches or something with a controlled cost because, you know, you're doing it to order. So well, we'll see what happens with that. The question was making sure that there's rolling funding. There was some FEMA funding, and then you have to get money up front because FEMA money takes forever. So things like that. There's pieces of that, but we'll reach out if that's interesting to people if it gets going. It is almost
Royal.
11.
Hi,
Yeah,
Royal
right.
and Ed again. Where is that information right now? Where about the lunches?
So right now it's a pilot program that's being started in Brattleboro. So it's very new. And so we'll let everybody know if there's interest. You know, we would need, like, you know, we don't need everybody to do it, but for those who can or to whom it would be appropriate, we can reach out and, you know, let us know and we can make that connection happen. So it's Royal, it's still in, you know, it's in beta, I guess. They're rolling it out, and it sounds like, I think we would have a few restaurants in our area that would be able to do that. And again, it might not be appropriate for everyone, but we will put the word out when that becomes available. I just thought it was a great idea. So it is 2 minutes before 11. So I think maybe we can jump and we'll share this recording and any questions. I know Eric had to jump off to get on another call. But any questions that you have or things you want to answer, send them. And those who have jumped in, I think I sent invites to everybody that I had in my list for the Deerfield Valley Restaurant Forum Google group. If you have not responded to that invitation, do so, I guess, if you want to be on the group. And then everybody in Dover, Eric was going to get me all his email list today, or he was just going to try and just invite everybody to join the group, just simply. And you just click on, yes, I'd like to join. And then you can go in there and you can post a topic, and then it emails everybody in the group. And that's a good way to share information. So that's a good way for us all to share information that crossed over. Yeah.
I have a question that there was some talk at one time, and this might be something that Eric might have a better idea of the abatement of room and meals tax, because we took ours and they said they didn't need to be paid right away. We put it in a separate account, so it's there. But they were talking about an abatement of rooms and meals taxes, but I haven't heard anything about that since.
I will track that down, and I think Eric has been following that with that. He's part of the Don't 86us group, but let me track that down and see where that has gone. And we will let you know. It's on my list.
Susan, are you asking about a delay in payment, or are you asking about
no, there was a delay
forgiven?
in payment. Mm-hmm. No, yeah. It was a forgiveness. It was, they already have a delay in payment.
Right.
So there was talk of an abatement, but I had very little hope that the state would ever do that, where their, you know, meal ticket. But in the meantime, we put it to the side just to wait and see, because once they get it, they're not going to give it back to you.
Right,
if they do.
But yeah, I haven't, like you, we haven't heard any more about abatement.
Yeah.
I will track that down and let you know. So, all right. Well, thank you, everybody. I think this is good. Let's see what the governor says. Send updates. Keith, good luck out in Denver.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, we're opening tonight for the first.
Oh, good luck.
First night.
Good.
It's big.
Have fun. I'm sure you'll be busy.
All right, folks. Thank you.
I hope so. I hope so.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. We'll go listen to the governor, our favorite thing. Take care.
Bye.
Okay.
See y'all.
Talk later.
Okay.